Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8, and this is Let's Play Descent Vector Space Runners. OBS Chan seems to be working just fine. Let's hop into this, shall we? Okay, let's try to read this. Pod movement, pod.
3, 2,
I didn't get the chance to
1.
read that.
Launch.
Damage, landing. Okay. I don't know what's going on with the red stuff. Am I supposed to go through that? Am I supposed to aim for it? I'm gonna see what happens. Nope, that hurts. That hurts us. That was... I'm just saying it didn't look like there was anything there. What do you mean I destroyed the space station? I hit one
3,
thing. How did that...
2, 1.
Okay, so... I'm just saying it looked like it was a hollow thing. I was like, okay. You know, maybe I'm supposed to hit it. Did I take... Yep, I took damage from that. It's just like, you look at it and you're like, isn't that something you're supposed to run into? Because, I mean, how would it ever naturally occur? Like, just something like, oh, it's a red outline. What's the green thing? Are there things I'm supposed to run into? This does control really well, though. I mean, one, I'm able to use a controller, and two, it does feel like it's... Oh, it's armor. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, so I can at least... So, purple things are good. Or was it blue? Well, that's green. So there's different colors depending on the pickup. But I mean, at a distance, we're not going to be able to see the tiny plus sign. So green is healing. I think it was either pink or blue. That was an armor thing. Okay. Yay! Landed without taking damage, and landed and survived Kepler 10B. Next mission.
3, 2, 1. Launch.
Oh, this is bad. Oh, fuck.
Three, two.
I don't know what that power-up would have been.
Launch.
It was like an arrow, wasn't it? So what, does it make me go faster? Bonus points? Provided you don't, explode. Is there a control scheme? Nope. How do I... But this does control really well. Okay, that looks like armor. Is that... It's pink. So, I mean, technically it's, blue and purple. And it's just the tinge of it. It's kind of a tinge of... Because it's not quite pink, but it's not quite... Well, that's kind of out of my reach. How did I miss? Oh, there's another one. Cool. Stuff.
3, 2, 1, launch.
I've been thinking about trying to go back to Shadow of War, but my computer doesn't really record that very well. It's just a PowerPoint presentation of Italians stabbing orcs and me yelling obscenities over that. I don't know if that would even be remotely interesting to anybody. Still don't know what that arrow does.
Three, two, one, launch.
Good. Definitely starting to do some pinpoint accuracy stuff here. Oh, you fucking asshole! Why would you do that?
3, 2, 1, launch.
Well, reflexes were not the greatest, I guess. This looks different. Is it randomized? More like procedural generation. Well, that's cool. Ow. Oh, fuck! You know, that was really close, and I'm not going to claim that I expertly dodged that or any sort of shit. I totally just got lucky.
3,
And this
2,
one is...
1.
Yeah, I did not thread that needle correctly. I am definitely starting to struggle a little bit on it. But that's good. It's definitely different each time. I don't know if we got checkpoints, actually. Maybe it's the same every time and I'm getting a checkpoint? I don't know. If we reach the end really quick, I guess maybe it means we get checkpoints, which again is nice. It's kind of hard to gauge how far that's going to move. No, 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 no. Ow! I'm on fire! I am still 75% health. How is that fire health? 70? So... when do I stop being on fire? How am I on fire? We're in space. The fire's making it harder to fuck. See? Well, now we have effort. Ow! No, no, fuck. Fuck! I was trying so hard.
3, 2,
Crash through a
1.
solar panel. Survive 10 grazes in one mission. Wow. It's like you failed a lot. And I'm on so much fire. And now I'm on fucking fire! Ah! So, oh. I failed to see geometry correctly. You know, it's kind of hard to see through the orange parts of space. Well, I got the... Oh, it slows me down. That... Ow.
3, 2, 1, launch.
Nope. Ow. Well, that didn't work very well.
3, 2, 1, launch.
Well, that's not good. That's less good. That's about as not good as that can be.
3, 2, 1, launch.
I'm gonna try pushing buttons to see if the stuff happens. That does nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay, I think it's only the joystick that does anything. While on fire. Why are we... Also, isn't Beetlejuice supposed to be going supernova right now? Well, I mean, technically 500 plus years ago, since it's 500 plus light years away. But I'm just saying, technically, hasn't Beetlejuice already gone supernova? Even though we're not exactly sure about what year, fuck, it happened. Well, they're not using that telescope anymore.
3, 2,
I mean, technically hasn't...
one,
Like, we're pretty sure Beetlejuice has already gone supernova. It's just... we could be seeing the light for that
3,
now?
2,
Or maybe, like, a few hundred years from now?
launch.
But we're, like, expecting it, like, any month now to actually start physically seeing, you know... That's another thing. Like, you can't really have an objective, observable universe. Because here's the thing. You can only have an observable universe based off of how far light can go, you know, the speed of light times the age of the universe. I mean, granted, yes, there are some, you know, telescopes that look for special, you know, really, really stretched out wavelengths of light that normally wouldn't be images. And you can look specifically for those light images that are, you know, really stretched out waves and then recompress them into what, you know, modern light would fuck. And then you can reconstruct an image of what the universe would have looked like, you know, in the past if you had been looking through a telescope a million years ago.
3,
But honestly, I don't
2,
understand how that works.
1, launch.
I'm just saying, you can't see any further than what the speed of light times the age of the universe can travel from the point that you're at, considering if you're considered the center of the universe, because that's where you're observing from.
3, 2,
It's just going to be like a dome,
launch.
and all directions from you. The distance, which would be the speed of light times the age of the universe. So, I guess we would have to find some way to have a telescope that, I don't know, was able to see at above faster than light travel, which I know doesn't make sense and is a really stupid way of wording that. But the main point is this: aside from the importance of figuring out how to do faster than light travel, there's the idea of, is it possible to make a telescope that works off of seeing light in a way that's, perceiving images at 1,000,000 times the speed of light? Which, again, I don't know how to properly word that correctly, but I'm pretty sure if somebody's smart enough to actually ever start doing anything like that, they would understand how to word that better than me. Though it does make me wonder, what if, I think Star Trek, The Next Generation started... Fuck. Damn it! I couldn't see that. I mean, it's there, it's clearly visible, it's just my eyes focused more on the...
3,
not the orange giant
2,
sun, but...
1, launch.
Also, isn't Beetlejuice more of a red giant? I mean, technically, then again, that would probably hurt my eyes more. I mean, the idea of, whether it's faster than Fox... Well, there's no way I was going to make that. Not from that angle. Whether it's faster than light travel,
3,
or, the little bubble
2,
stuff with the warp drives.
1, launch.
Or there's hyperdrive stuff, or there's Event Horizon, or there's Warhammer, warp stuff. But the idea being is this. Hypothetically, if we used any of those, especially just normal faster than light travel... One, Ow! How would you, not destroy your own ship with it? How would be the effects on human bodies? Heck, it'd probably just fuck with the chemistry of our brains. Well, that is not empty space.
3, 2, 1.
My bad, I misjudged what that was. I'm just saying... Would it cause damage to the fabric of the universe? Would it affect gravity? Would it somehow create some new form of radiation? Then here's another idea. Stargates, like in Stargate SG-1 in Atlantis. What if you were to have... Yeah, you guys know how freeways work? Where you have 4 lanes next to 4 lanes, and you basically have 8 lanes total, but you have 4 lanes going one direction. And 4 lanes going in the other. Fucking fuck! How you have 8 lanes of traffic, and you have 4 lanes going one direction and 4 lanes the other?
1.
What if you were to have 8 Stargates next to each other, and they were turned on 24/7, 365 days a year, and you just had 8 total, and 4 going one way to the planet, and 4 going the other way? So it'd be like a freeway, but with, anything from people to parts to make spaceships and stuff, and just running constantly. Well, I'm just saying this. Imagine the idea of, if radio waves being used non-stop could cause some sort of interference between different frequencies, to where, if you want to broadcast on one frequency, and then a frequency close to yours winds up running, basically causing interference. What if you're just constantly putting out the maximum input on a certain frequency? That way, would it cause any sort of distortion? And if the light speed traveling caused any sort of radiation or thing, what if the radiation were to then interact with the interference caused by massive stargates being run non-stop? Like the idea of like, you know, fast light travel is you're still going a straight line, you're just going to move really quick. And a wormhole is you're bending space. What if you imagine like a corkboard map and each Stargate... Oh, did I play the whole...
3,
oh.
2,
And each Stargate
1.
is like
Launch.
a piece of yarn going across a map. To where they're like all overlapping each other. Like a really messy basket weaving thing. Fuck. I'm just saying, what if the interference for both things
3,
could be a new form of energy you could use?
1. Launch.
That could basically allow you to, I don't know, probably call it quantum unlocking. The idea being is that, what if you could
3,
make
2,
your ship, instead of moving
1,
faster,
launch.
and instead of creating a wormhole that makes you, you know, bend space and shit, what if you could just use the interference caused from both things, from the light speed stuff going on, to just sort of, I don't know,
3,
phase
2,
shift
1.
your
Launch.
spaceship to like the same wavelength as the Stargate. And I'm not saying go through the Stargate, I'm saying what if you're in outer space between the two planets that are connected by a Stargate that's running nonstop, and use the, you know, distortion or, I don't know, damage
3,
in space
2,
to sort
1.
of synchronize like a vibrational frequency of physical matter of the people inside, so that by doing that you're essentially lifting up the piece of yarn that is that Stargate, and you're not physically making it. What you're doing is that wormhole that technically exists,
3,
what if you're
2,
just sort of
1. Launch.
making your ship exist simultaneously with that, so that the idea of quantum mechanics being that, you know, things are many places until observed, you know, the idea of something being both particle and wave function but changing depending on observation. What if you could then like synchronize your ship to exist at every single point along that entire path of the Stargate goes along, without actually going through the doorway of the Stargate, but actually just synchronizing with the path between the two planets that Stargate would be connecting to, so that your spaceship does not physically exist at any one point, but rather exists as like a wave function across the entirety of the entire path of the Stargate. So that would mean hypothetically, I thought I could make that. Oh, there's armor there. So I guess hypothetically,
3, 2,
high
1.
velocity.
Launch.
Good for me. I made a record on fire. So I'm just saying this. What if, like, say, there was a planet where there was a constant Stargate between them, and of course you could go through the actual physical Stargate on either planet.
3,
That would be multiple
2,
solar systems apart.
1. Launch.
But what if you could just like synchronize your ship to exist as a wavelength? You know, the idea that electrons are so small but they exist within an orbit around an atom, so that you know where the electron is, the relative size of the electron, but
3, 2,
it's pretty much impossible to
1.
find
Launch.
an actual electron, because they're so small relative to even the size of the nucleus of an atom. So all you know is that there's a wave function that represents the location where the electron could be. So, which is, it's not actually an orbit, but that's like, an elliptical orbit is the best way to describe it, at least in a way that I'm capable of at least pretending to understand, because I don't. I'm going to be honest, I don't really understand. Not at all, but
3, 2,
I'm sure
1. Launch.
if somebody actually knows what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to stuff, and is much smarter than me, they would understand what I'm trying to say, but they would understand what I'm trying to say in a much better way than, well, that I even know how to say. Because I'll be honest, I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I imagine if somebody was a lot smarter than me, they would be able to maybe put some practical use to it somehow. I don't know. And then again, I'm pretty sure if anyone's smarter than me, they already had this thought, and I'm just some dumbass talking to himself out of boredom. I get I think about things, okay? I have an addictive and incessive personality, and sometimes I just think about random bullshit. Yeah, I fucked that up. I'm just saying this. What if, hypothetically, you would imagine between multiple solar systems the path in which the Stargate would go, and of course, realistically, you're not seeing anything, but what if you could, like, be anywhere between that place, which would have a very large margin of error? Because technically the Stargate you see in there is only a few meters across at best. You know, I think it's like a diameter of, I think it's a radius of 1 meter.
3, 2,
Enough for people
1.
to go through comfortably side by side, but that's pretty much it. But I'm saying, hypothetically, that would... I'd say if you're at any point between the two planets in a straight line, maybe a radius of half the moon? Or maybe double the moon. You would technically think of it actually as multiple lines. First, you'd have the just straight path
3,
between
2,
Planet A and Planet
1.
B,
Launch.
which would be Stargate A and Stargate B. First off, you just have the straight-ass path. So you'd have a completely straight path between both. That'd be completely invisible, except unless you have an instrument capable of detecting it. And it would go between Planet A and Planet B, multiple solar systems apart. Then, not only would you have, one path that is multiple, I'd say, yeah. So what if there was just a singular path? Imagine like a, think like just a cord. Like a fiber optic cord.
2, 1. Launch.
So imagine like between Planet A and Planet B and a direct line between the two. So imagine just a completely straight line between Planet A and Planet B. That is, say, twice the size of the moon in radius between the two. And then imagine that there's a second line that would be the corrected...
3, 2,
Basically,
1.
if you were to have physical matter, like if you were to imagine that line, first off, you would have the line that would be just completely straight with nothing interacting with it in any way. Then you would have a second line that would be based off of what that line would be, but like imagine you're doing line... Okay, so you have
3,
Planet
2,
A connecting to
1.
Planet B,
Launch.
and then you would have line A... No, you'd have Planet A connected to Planet B, and you would have line 1, which would be, like, say, double the diameter of the moon, as a straight line between both planets, drawn in a way that it's unaffected by
2,
anything.
1.
Then you would draw a line 2 that is affected by things like gravity and solar radiation and solar winds, so that the line has many places in which it's curving. Well, that's not good. So the line has many points in which it's curving and moving and snaking into a situation that is not where the line 1 is. Then you'd say any places where the two lines overlap, it becomes stronger. And any places where they don't overlap,
2, 1.
think of it like two different lines and you're just shading in between. So that if you're able to have your ship physically
3,
on either of
2,
those lines or in
1.
any place that would be the shaded in between area of those two lines, then you could essentially turn your ship into an electron, making it behave like the planets are atoms.
3,
And essentially
2, 1.
your
Launch.
ship would no longer exist as one physical space and time. The idea being that moving at light speed, you're still one. The idea is that your ship is still behaving as a physical particle. Yes, you're moving at an incredibly fast speed, but your ship is still definitively
3,
acting as a
2,
particle.
1. Launch.
It's just a really fast particle. Whereas with the going through a Stargate sort of thing, or a wormhole, you're still, again, your ship is still a singular... Oh, I'm fucked. Your ship is still a singular particle, but you have bent space-time around it to shift where you are. But whether it's a change in your speed or a change in how you're affecting space-time and like how you're bending the fabric of the fucking universe, your ship is still behaving as a solid individual particle. Just a really big particle full of people and ice cream. I like ice cream, okay? In fact. Like if I wasn't fat, but I also like ice cream. Anyway, I'm just saying, what if in this way, you'd be able to like synchronize your ship with the path of the Stargate so that your ship no longer behaved as a particle. Your ship, as well as the crew and all the people inside, behaved as a wave function. And it behaved as if the planets were atoms, you know, protons and neutrons of atoms, and because sometimes, like, atoms will share electrons. So what if you could create the invisible path of the Stargates that would be, like, you don't even actually see in the, you know, TV shows. I get it, science fiction. But I'm just saying, what if you could, like, synchronize your ship with that, and your ship, you can make it to where your ship is no longer a physical particle. It no longer behaves as a particle, but rather as a wave function. So that your spaceship and all of the people inside are a wave function representing a hypothetical giant electron. So the planets are each a cluster. So in this situation, Planet A and Planet B are both the nucleus of an atom. You know, the combination of protons and neutrons. The invisible Stargate, you know, wormhole path would be the hypothetical orbit path of the electron. And the spaceship with all the people inside would exist as a wave function. And the idea is that you would no longer technically be Newtonian physics. The idea is that your entire spaceship would be behaving as if it were an electron in quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And the idea being is that your ship no longer exists at any singular point in space, but rather your ship and all the people inside technically simultaneously exists at every single point in space-time along the entire path of that hypothetical electron wave function path, orbit, whatever. You guys get what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying if that path between the two planets was the each planet is an atom. So the planet itself is, you know, the nucleus with the protons and neutrons all bundled together. The path between the two is the hypothetical orbit of the electron, and the spaceship with the people inside is a wave function representing the spaceship, Al, and all the people inside. And it means hypothetically all of the people inside would not exist at a single point in space, but they would simultaneously exist. Not only, and here's the thing, let's say hypothetically you jump into this thing at the middle point of the path. You not only go in the direction of the planet that you want to go to. Let's say if you're in between the two, like at the halfway point between planet A and planet B, when you merge with the wave function of the hypothetical electron orbit between the two, let's say if you enter into the halfway point, you not only go in the direction of where you're going, but you're going the opposite direction away from it too, toward the other planet you don't want to go to. It'd be like saying, if you had a freeway between two major cities, your one option is to drive just really fast to that place, and the other option is to, you know, fly. Basically, you're leaving the ground to go a different path, I guess. Okay, that's a terrible analogy. But the main point is, like,
Lawn.
What if, hypothetically, when you entered a road between two cities, you didn't just go in the direction of the city you wanted to go to and away from the city you come from? What if you went in the middle of the freeway between two cities?
3, 2.
The idea is that you would
1.
simultaneously
Lawn.
exist at every single point. You would simultaneously be at the closest point and the furthest point from where you're going at the same time. Okay, so yeah. So we're treating spaceships as if they're electrons. Planets are atoms. You know, the actual solid part of a planet is protons and neutrons. The invisible Stargate path that you're not actually entering the Stargate into is the hypothetical electron orbit, and your spaceship
3,
is
2,
the electron.
1.
And again, you're not... But the idea is that your ship is becoming part of a wave function. You're switching your entire spaceship. I didn't take damage, okay. You're switching your entire spaceship into quantum mechanics. Your entire spaceship would behave as well as everyone inside would be. It's kind of like how the Earth moves, and you know, I mean, the Earth is moving at an incredibly fast speed through the space, and it's also spinning at a really fast pace. And heck, technically the sun is moving, and our solar system's moving, and the galaxy's moving, all at such a fast pace, but it's, you know, we don't really notice that. It's kind of like the idea of, like, there's a thing called the 3-body problem, where you have 3 things in equal gravity. They turn into chaos theory, meaning that it's not random, but it's that every small little change is so drastic that when it's repeated over and over, it creates a completely unpredictable, because it's just, there's such a small thing that could go wrong.
3.
Like, technically there's also quantum computers that can store a lot of data and be really smart, but they're extraordinarily sensitive to outside interference. So it's just, honestly, you'd have to be a billionaire to afford that stuff. And then again, if you're not a billionaire, what on earth need would you have for it?
3, 2, 1.
But yeah, that's the hypothetical idea of, what if spaceships behaved as electrons in quantum mechanics, and you turn the spaceship into a wave function, so that
3,
you made your
2,
spaceship exist
1. Lawn.
simultaneously at every single point in space-time along the set path. And then you just choose what point you want to be observed at. Now, I have no idea how much power that would require, or if you'd be able to, like, rapidly switch that back and forth. And just, like, you know, blink back and forth between all those places. Also, I have no idea the hypothetical effects on the human mind. Because, I mean, hypothetically, if you had humans trying to live in a colony in space,
Lawn.
for what I understand, I'm pretty sure even the act of conceiving a child would be impossible in space, because the way the embryos would function inside a womb in zero gravity would not lead to a living child. Then there's also the idea that not only do... I mean, if you're going to be an astronaut, you have to already be extremely athletic. You know, if you're an average person going to outer space, whether it's the G-forces of leaving the atmosphere or just the effects of gravity, it's probably going to kill you. Then there's the fact that even the professionally trained astronauts, who are, you know, some of the best in terms of physical fitness, you know, people that would be like, fuck, the best of the best when it comes to physical fitness. And I know not everyone who goes to space is exactly an athlete,
2,
but I'm just saying, especially those who go there, I mean, going into outer space, one, in my opinion, would be extremely terrifying, but also, it would probably be incredibly, much more than I can even imagine, taxing on both the physical body and on the mind. So mental and physical issues would be, I think, far beyond my ability to cope.
3,
But then there's also the
2,
idea that
1.
even a fully grown
Launch.
human is going to have physical problems and lose bone mass and have problems with their organs by staying in outer space for too long. Plus, it does tend to, even in the most stalwart of people, it tends to cause psychological problems, let alone somebody who already has psychological problems. Then there's the fact that if people were to be like babies or toddlers or going through fucking hell, we're going through puberty and outer space with zero gravity,
3, 2, 1. Launch.
it, regardless of what stage you are in the development issue, whether you're a baby, toddler, small kid, puberty person, or a teenager, you know, basically like 13, 14, you know, like Asuka and Shinji age, Evangelion. Yeah, you're not going to live in outer space very long. I'd say, hypothetically, if you were like a 14-year-old person, and then again, I don't know if anyone that age ever went to space at all, ever, let alone for that amount of time. One, I don't remember. Two, I don't know if like, that stuff would even be disclosed to the public. Damn it. But the main point is this.
3, 2, 1.
My personal assumption is this. Is that if you were to take someone, even at the age of 14, who had already gone through most of puberty, because I mean, I was 5'11" at the age of 13. But I mean, even if you took someone who was 14 years old and put them in a space station, gave them everything they needed, and tried to, you know, give them all the supplements, stuff they could use to improve themselves, and stuff to help them mentally and physically, and, you know, psychologically, not only would I think that they would wind up having psychological issues because of it, I think biologically, regardless of what supplements you could possibly give them, I think if you were to take someone who's 14 years old, put them in outer space in a zero-G environment, I think it would
3,
take...
2,
I think
1.
the absolute maximum
Launch.
length of time that they would even survive would be 2 years, regardless of what nutrients or supplements they got. I mean, even if they actually had like money wasn't an issue and they were given everything possible to help their health, I don't think anyone would be able to survive longer than 2 years. Heck, then there's the idea, what about a fully grown adult who doesn't have to deal with, you know, body changes? And they're, you know, athletic and all that shit. The question then is this. What is the longest period of time any human being has ever been in outer space? And even then, what kind of effects did they have? And honestly, how long did the physical rehab take? Because that's the thing, they probably required a great deal of physical rehabilitation. Heck, I would very strongly say that if somebody went to outer space, even if they're a fully grown adult and they were extraordinarily healthy, even if they were extraordinarily healthy, I would say probably the longest amount of time a full-grown adult male in the peak physical condition, like the healthiest and most athletic a human being could be, in whatever is the most ideal physical health for,
3,
you know,
2,
being in space.
1. Launch.
I don't think even the greatest of people... Why are we this close to a black hole? It looks cool, but I don't think we'd survive this, honestly. If we're able to see it like that, I think we're already within the gravity. I mean, hypothetically, how close am I to this black hole? How many millions of miles is it? How many light minutes away is it? Because here's the thing, I know that Earth is... fuck. Like, I know Earth is 8 light minutes away
3,
from the sun.
2, 1. Launch.
And I know that while I don't remember the exact distance that Pluto is from the sun, I do know, if I remember correctly, that the distance between it's either the distance between Pluto and the Earth or the distance between Pluto and the
3,
Sun.
2,
But I know
1,
that distance
launch.
is 41, and it's either a half, a third, or a quarter. But yeah, it's either I know it's like we're talking about the distance of the Earth from the Sun is 8 light minutes. Now,
3,
I know the distance
2,
either from
1,
Earth to Pluto or the distance from the Sun to Pluto is 41 and some fraction times the distance that is Earth from the Sun. But I don't know if we're saying that the distance of Pluto from the Sun is 41 and a half times the distance of Earth from the Sun, or if the distance from Pluto from the Earth.
1.
I think it's Pluto from the Sun. But even then, it's either 41 and a half, 41 and a quarter, 41 and a third. I'm not sure. I don't think any of that matters. I don't think at any point that number has any importance.
3.
I'm just
2,
saying that in
1,
terms of scaling. How far? Like, first off, how big is this? Obviously, a black hole is much larger, though I don't know how it would look
3,
to the
2,
naked eye of a human.
1, launch.
Well, here's the question. What would be the smallest that a black hole could be and still be seen by the naked human eye?
2,
And of
1,
course, I understand
launch.
distance plays a part too. But what I'm saying is, like, hypothetically, like, let's say if there was... I just missaw that entirely. Let's say hypothetically there was
3,
a black hole
2, 1,
on the outskirts of the solar system. First off, if there was a black hole, let's say just outside the orbit of Pluto, how badly would that fuck up the entire solar system? Well, why don't you just like reboot like Solar Smash or Universe Sandbox and figure that out? I don't know. I always liked Gray Still Plays doing the Solar Smash and, you know, Universe Sandbox, because he does like
2,
editing stuff. And
1,
it's really funny, and he's really it's funny the stuff I can't remember all the stuff he's done. Also, I'm not sure if my computer really handled that stuff anymore. I don't think it could hardly handle it back then. But I mean, I could do videos where I just do a 3-body problem. Fuck. By the way, there are times, like they said with the technically, if you had a binary star system,
3,
you could have a
2,
third
1,
smaller planet.
launch.
Because hypothetically, in Earth's solar system, if you had 2 stars instead of just the 1 sun, granted you'd have to like alter the sizes and type of star,
3,
so it like
2,
combined the 2 stars
1,
together
launch.
would only produce, you know, relatively the same amount of heat and gravity in the same orbit as our sun. Otherwise, you know, we'd all die because, you know, very small changes in the amount of radiation or heat or gravity will basically kill us. But hypothetically, if you had 2 stars of the appropriate size and heat to be equal to our one sun, what would happen is, if the 2 stars basically just orbited each other, we would actually... Our planet would treat it as 1 star, and technically there would be a center of gravity that would be in between the 2 stars, and fuck! And we'd be orbiting the center of the gravity that is created by the 2 stars
3,
orbiting each other.
2, 1,
Which means hypothetically we would be orbiting an area of empty space that technically has 0 matter. I'm just saying, how close are we to this black hole? Like, for example,
3, 2, 1, launch.
obviously it would become a sort of a graph sort of thing, but the idea is this. How big would the black hole have to be, and how far away or how close would we have to be in order to see a black hole and have it appear that size in terms of perspective from us. For example, let's say it was on the outskirts of Pluto. One, how big would and of course you can't test this out with Solar Smash or Universe Sandbox, and if you could, you probably wish you couldn't. I'm just saying, let's say hypothetically you were on the Earth, and you were looking up at the night sky,
3,
and you were physically able to
1.
see a black hole
Lord.
and have it look that size. Honestly, I, one, don't know if a human eye would really perceive a black hole at all like that. I mean, it could just be an artistic rendition of how we like to display it to each other. Kind of like, you know, a crosswalk sign. A stick figure is not an accurate representation of what a human
3,
looks like,
2,
but it is something that's
1.
easily recognizable.
Lord.
What an action, like if a human being were actually able to see a black hole, and I understand there was like these things about taking photos of black holes that was done with some sort of radiation, and it's more so the absence of light. So, yeah, I understand it's a much more complicated thing than what I'm both saying or capable of understanding. But I'm saying that the physical appearance that I'm looking at, it's pretty.
3, 2, 1.
I mean, I'm the kind of guy I like to sit out in the grass and just look up at clouds and be like, ooh, fluffy clouds, or sit on my front porch and watch a fucking thunderstorm and watch the leaves just like move on the trees in the wind. I know I'm dumb, but I like nature. But I also don't want to ever sleep outside ever again. Did a lot of camping when I was younger. I don't ever want to do that again.
2,
I like my bed.
1.
I like my big,
Lord.
comfy, queen-size bed. I roll around a lot. I also love cuddling. Fortunately, I don't have anybody, so it's like, fuck. I'm doing so fucking bad at this. But I'm just saying,
2, 1.
foregoing the technicalities of what a black hole would actually look like, let's just say, hypothetically, real life functions like the artistic thing I want it to look like. It'd be like saying, Jupiter is now purple, because I like purple. It's like, why? I don't care. We're just gonna imagine it drawn as purple now. Even though I honestly have no idea what changes. Here's a question, though. If you were to make Jupiter purple, what would actually have to be different about the composition of the planet and in terms of gravity and temperature in order to actually make Jupiter actually look purple? Like what
3, 2,
chemicals?
1. Lord.
Like what elements? Then again, there's also that idea of, you know, Uranus and Neptune. Like, I've heard multiple theories on that, whether or not, like, some people still kind of think it's a solid planet. Some think it's gas giants. Just
3, 2.
then there's also the idea, like, what if it's a solid planet, but it's like, is it full of water? Is it? Because the idea is this: what if hypothetically you had the core of, say, Uranus or Neptune? Let's say Neptune. Let's say hypothetically, and I know a few of the moons of Saturn and Jupiter are
3, 2.
considered.
1.
Though I understand a lot of the moons, like there's a lot, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but most of those are just like glorified asteroids. But actually full-on moons, there's still quite a few, because technically they're both gas giants.
3,
I mean, they're not as big as the
2,
sun, but they're still
1.
really big compared to the
Lord.
Earth. So they're able to have, you know, moons that are, I think, comparable to the size of our moon, maybe a little bit bigger, but not as big as Earth. But again, I'm just going off of random memory. Is there a slowdown button at any point? I can never read.
3, 2, 1. Lord.
Like, I couldn't read the directions at the start. I'm trying to push buttons to see if there's a break. Nope, there is not a break button.
3, 2.
But the idea
1.
being that the warm core of, say, Neptune would be able to perform geothermal heat. And then, hypothetically, under miles and miles and miles of crust, there could be a subterranean ocean full of aquatic life. But then, of course, then there's the idea of this. In the hypothetical situation that there was aquatic life on Neptune, under like 3 miles of solid ice mixed with, like, I don't know, whatever chemical it would be. Like, is it methane? I think it's solid methane. I'm not sure.
3, 2,
I'm taking a guess.
1, launch.
But what kind of animals would be under that? But I'm just saying, hypothetically, whatever size black hole that is supposed to represent in terms of the artistic representation. If we had a black hole that could be seen with the naked human eye by the same, way as the artistic representation we're seeing here, didn't make that, then
3, 2, 1, launch.
the question is this. Obviously, again, it'd be represented as a graph. Basically, the idea is this. How big would it have to be in order to be seen by the human eye? And of course, we'd have 2 graphs then. The first graph would be representations of the black hole at the size that it currently is. So, example, that black hole there, for a human eye, in the hypothetical situation that the artistic representation of a black hole, representing the black hole of the perspective that we're seeing, in order to see a black hole of that size, if it did function by the artistic representation, rather than, reality,
3, 2.
how big would it be and how far away would it be? Obviously, the further away it is, it has to be bigger. So the question is this. If, hypothetically, there was a black hole out... Let's say, first off, let's say there's a black hole at the same orbit as Pluto. What would be the smallest, even... Let's just say okay, we're making, like, more graphs now. Okay, first graph being is this. What is every point of distance away from the Earth, regardless of whether or not it would completely fucking obliterate the solar system? That the black hole, how big would it be at every distance in order to be that size and appearance? Obviously, then there's things of 1. Okay, I feel at a loss for what I could have done there. It's just, yes, obviously there's concerns
3,
of
2,
wouldn't the
1,
gravity just completely destroy
launch.
the integrity of the solar system and all the, orbits? Wouldn't it, like, destroy the planets? Wouldn't it kill everyone instantly with gravity or some sort of radiation? Also, wouldn't it, like, mess with, like, the space-time continuum and the concept of time would just sort of be fucked? Though, of course, we have no way of doing that. We're just, like, sort of making guesses. It's even, like, basically, I'm using science fiction as stuff to just make random fucking bullshit hypothesis. I did not quite clear that. %. Okay, let's see if there's a God. I'm pretty sure I was really close.
2.
Oh no,
1, launch.
I still have another 500 to go. Oh wow, this is far. But I'm just saying. Well, fuck. I'm just saying hypothetically. At every possible distance that could be from the Earth, regardless of the
3,
horrible, catastrophic
2, 1,
implications when it comes to
launch.
physics and the death of all of humanity, and the destruction of the Earth and our very solar system. Hypothetically, assuming that the black hole has the appearance of the artistic rendition, which I know is not realistic, and let's assuming that it I couldn't even see that. It was too dark. And so, 1, assuming
3,
that the black hole has
2,
the appearance
1,
according to the
launch.
artistic rendition, which does not apply to reality, and assuming that, the existence of the black hole does not destroy all of, humanity and cause extinction of the very universe we understand. I'm just saying, assuming it doesn't, destroy the Earth and wipe out humanity, or cause any negatives like that, because those are pretty bad negatives, pretty big ones, in fact. Oh, I can't go, fuck. I was wondering if I could go over 100%.
3,
Well, that
2,
didn't work out very well.
1, launch.
But hypothetically, given all of those conditions, at every possible point of distance of meaningful flux, how big would it actually have to be that appearance?
3,
Like, hypothetically,
2,
if a black hole
1, launch.
were on the orbit of Pluto, how big would it have to be for us to see? And I understand we're not exactly on a planet at the moment, we're in space. Well, then here's a question. Hypothetically, assuming that this black hole is the size of whatever would be considered a normal size for a black hole, like whatever is the average black hole size.
1, launch.
How, and assuming our spaceship is just like the size of, I don't know, an elevator, how far away are we from that black hole? Then the idea is this. If a black hole were only big enough to be
3,
seen with the naked
2,
eye
1,
as, say,
launch.
to look like a star. I don't even know if it would be possible to look at, see how it looks. But let's say if you saw something, and again, I know it's artistic rendition, but, and that's not how black holes would actually appear, since we're not really even sure how that would work. If hypothetically there was a black hole you could see with the naked eye from the Earth, and it was the size that it looked like the same, like the stars. You know, when you're out at night sky and you look up and you see the North Star, for example, you look up and you see a star, a single star, the size of a pretty big star, mind you, but still. Well, I mean, in terms of brightness for us. Let's just say the North Star. The brightness of the North Star, let's say in the middle of the night, wherever any of you might live, you go out in your backyard at night, and you just look in the sky and you see a star, the size, and the star is the size of the North Star. Now let's say that star isn't a star, it's a black hole. How big would that black hole have to be in order for us to see it? And what would be the closest? And let's say if that black hole were the size of the average black hole, like whatever is
3,
considered average
2,
for a black hole,
1, launch.
what would be the absolute closest it could be? Like, one, if it's the average size of a black hole, whatever that is, how far away from the Earth would it have to be, or how close, in order for us to see it at all with the naked eye? And
3, 2, 1, launch.
what is the smallest feasible black hole that we're aware of that can exist? Obviously, if there's a really small black hole the size of, say, a fucking basketball, we're probably never going to fucking see it. Also, it would probably change the size pretty quick. But I'm saying, one, what would be the smallest... let's say if hypothetically a black hole could exist at any actual size, you know, even down to like the size of, you know, a nickel.
3, 2, 1.
If hypothetically black holes could exist the size of a nickel, one, what effect would a black hole that size have on its environment? How fast would it grow? And would we even be able to detect it from Earth? What would be the smallest black hole we'd be capable of detecting with current technology? What would be the smallest... Like, how big would a black hole have to be in order for its effect on anything around it to matter?
3,
For example, if there was a
2,
black hole the size
1, launch.
of a nickel in the orbit of Pluto, would it have any effect at all on the solar system? Or would it have a devastating one? Also, would there be like a threshold for, you know, what it takes to make a stable black hole that doesn't just fizzle out into non-existence?
3,
Which again, I
2,
don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's just like,
launch.
just random thoughts. Heck, I think if you were to do like a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Tim Curry
3,
and Jack Nicholson,
2,
you'd
1,
wind up getting Perfect
launch.
Cell. Then again, I'm also wondering, like, I know this is a dumb idea, but what if Steve Buscemi and David Bowie are secretly the same person? Also, like, take the hentai artists behind
3, 2,
Hellsing. You know,
1,
Alucard? And
launch.
granted, I know there's a TV version and an OVA version. Heck, even Team 4-Star did an abridged version. But, you know, the anime Hellsing with Alucard and all that, the main artist behind that originally worked on hentai mangas and doujinsis and all that shit. I think that was an incredible anime that he did, even though it was not a hentai, but you can definitely see comparisons between you look at the person's old works and that one.
3,
So
2,
I know it may sound a bit controversial, but I would say people that are predominantly hentai artists would probably make very, 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 very good animators for action fighting animes. Like, say, if we ever get any more Dragon Ball Z or Baki the Grappler, all that stuff, what if they were to, like, hire people whose sole experience was in drawing and animating hentai? I think they would be good at actually not only drawing and animating fight scenes, but also in just character design. Because that's one major thing, that when it comes to whether it's a video game of any genre or an anime, people like characters that have a pleasing appearance. For example, take Black Lagoon. The women in that show are incredibly beautiful.
Three,
Or heck,
2,
take Stellar Blade.
1, launch.
So, or heck, take all the people from like One Punch Man, or what? My Hero Academia. The really tall bunny girl. Yes, I like tall. I mean, granted, I would still date short women too. I'm just saying I do like tall people. Grantedly, fuck you, square cube law. There's a thing in physics called the square cube law.
1,
Even though technically in the Bible it does describe giants, and technically there's tons of things about not only just giants in mythology, but also stories about actual real-life kings, like the King of Uz, which is even talked about in the Bible, which is a dude who lived way past the time of Abraham, actually way past the time of Moses, who apparently was 26 cubits in height, which, then again, depending on the wording, people said it had nothing to do with the person's height. It was an issue of decadence. For example, like King Solomon had like 1,000 wives. Granted, 700 of them were concubines. But still, at this point, I think it's come fucking moot point. But the idea is that the phrasing when it comes to the King of Uz, which is either a Syrian king or an Assyrian king, or one of the kings in that era back. But anyway, main point I'm saying is it was somebody that was born hundreds of years after Moses died. And of course, again, this is, you know, really, really old story of a character that, you know, technically, hypothetically existed, but I can't really prove that they existed. But the main point is they're not really considered part of biblical, you know, history. It's more so considered actual history for the, you know, a country. But the idea is the King of Uz explored all strange new worlds. But the idea being that
3, 2, 1.
endless mode. Okay, so this is, oh my god, that view is so beautiful. I know I should be dodging things, but I'm just staring at this planet. It looks pretty. Okay, what was I talking about? Square cube law for some reason. Alright, big titty goth girlfriends. Though honestly, goth is just an aesthetic. Main point being is, like, I think it's Mirka or whatever, I can't remember her name. The really tall bunny girl from, there's also Miss Mountain, but I mean that's kind of too big. It's too tall. Wow.
3, 2, 1. Launch.
Alright, the King of Ooze. But the main point was the thing saying that his height was 26 cubits, which is technically the length from your wrist to your elbow. But of course, whose wrist? Whose elbow? I mean, I guess hypothetically a cubit would be the length from your wrist to your elbow of the average man. So, and you also consider a lot of times it's said that people were a lot shorter back then. Of course, they weren't like
3,
dwarves out of
2,
like Lord of the
1,
Rings, but
launch.
I would say on average, like right now, I think the average height in America is like 5'8". Like the average, like I think the average man in America is like 5'8". You know, if you look at like media and
3,
stuff, you would assume
2,
everyone's like 6.5 fucking
1,
feet tall.
launch.
Me, I'm 5'11", so I'm 5 foot and 11 inches. I think it's 180 centimeters tall I am. So, ow. But yeah, it would be like whatever is the average height. But I would say probably the average height back then, assuming, would probably be like 5'5", because it wouldn't be like a massive
3,
change.
2, 1.
But who knows? I know things sometimes change depending on geography and how far back in time. But I mean, it's also a bit of an ebb and flow. It's not just a static one-way change. But I would say for the most part, I would assume for the most part, the average height back then was the same as it is now. But again, that's just an assumption based on what's convenient for my story. That being said, a cubit being the average... What was that? It's to my left. I couldn't see what that was. Looked like there were numbers on it. It was blue. Oh, this. Tom's... Oh, they're other people's death points. That's cool. But that being said, I would say hypothetically that would make a person about 30 feet tall, since a cubit would be a little bit over a foot in length. But it's also said that was his bed, the length of his bed. So it could just be a story of decadence. That it's not that the dude was super tall, it's that the dude was super rich and spoiled. That the idea is that you'd have a bed, like, whereas I have a queen-size bed, it's... Let me pause this real quick. I would assume it's about 3.5 cubits wide, and... Yes, I'm looking at my bed trying to figure it out. 5.5 cubits long? I don't know. I'm not going to get like a ruler. I'm just saying it's a queen-size bed. But the idea of that being is that, you know, it's long enough that I can lay on it and, you know, my feet don't hang off the end of the bed. You know, it's comfortable. And I'm 5'11". But, oh god. Well, this went poorly. Yeah.
3,
you should try to focus, I guess.
1, launch.
But it could just be a story about the dude being like extremely rich and decadent, that he made a fucking bed that was 30 feet long and probably also 30 feet wide. Then again, you assume as the dude's that rich, he probably also had a shit ton of wives, which at a point, I mean, understandably, I mean, I understand that, you know, I like animes like Tenchi Muyo. You know,
3, 2, 1, launch.
but I mean, even if you're in the hypothetical situation that you're a super rich king dude, and let's say you have 8 wives, and you want to be able to share a bed with all of them, could you imagine that? Having a bed that's like 30 foot by 30 foot? I'm pretty sure most people's houses aren't that big. I don't know. But anyway, what I was saying is the square cube law. The idea is that the bigger something is, like say if you square the length of something, then you wind up cubing the volume and the density and the weight and all that stuff. Meaning, basically saying you can't build a skyscraper out of wood. Though it does make me wonder, how big of a building could you make with different materials? For example, heck, even take radioactive materials. What if you were to build a building entirely out of uranium or plutonium? So let's say hypothetically you built a building out of plutonium. Never minding the fact that it would be horribly radioactive. And I don't even know if, like, for example, if you had like just a tub of like 1,000 pounds of plutonium and you detonated a single stick of dynamite next to it, would that cause the plutonium to do something, nuclear? Because, I mean, technically you're not... I understand there's different types of plutonium, and you have issues about unstable isotopes and stuff, which, again, I don't really understand. But the idea being this. If you just took average plutonium, didn't do anything to it, and you just, like, put a stick of dynamite next to it, or TNT... Because technically dynamite and TNT are two different things. I think dynamite's the more unstable version of nitroglycerin, and TNT is a form that's used as a more stable way, especially for things like construction and digging tunnels through mountains for like railroads and shit. Heck, at one point I think people misunderstood how dangerous TNT was. I think they were using the powder for it to like dye their clothes yellow. But the point is, I think TNT is the more stable and safer version of it. That is a more solidified powder, I think. I'm not sure. And dynamite's a more... But either way, TNT or dynamite, they're both explosives. It's just difference in how, I guess... I missed the health reactive there. What was that yellow thing? I don't think I've seen anything yellow yet. Ow. But the question is this. If you had a bunch of plutonium and you put a stick of dynamite next to it and blew it up, would it do anything? What if you just like poured gasoline all over plutonium and lit it on fire?
3,
what
2,
would happen?
1, launch.
Anyway, back to my story. Aside from the fact that all of these things would probably kill you with horrible radiation, even if it didn't explode or catch fire or something. Then again, what if you took a pound of plutonium and just sort of, I don't know, put a massive amount of electricity through it? Heck, like Benjamin Franklin did the metal key on a kite? What if you took an aluminum lightning rod and you just put a pound of plutonium on it? I'm just saying, what would happen if you took a pound of plutonium and just had it get struck by lightning? What would happen? What if you put plutonium in a hydraulic press? What if you put plutonium into a hot oven? What if you poured nitroglycerin onto a pound of plutonium? It does remind me of the palladium stuff, the fake mineral from Pow World. It doesn't, no. I know there's a blue mineral called lapis lazuli. And everyone's like, that's a Minecraft thing. Like, no, it's a real thing too. It's mainly in Brazil. And of course, there's different types of crystals, and amethyst is purple and all that shit. But there's stuff called apatite. I sometimes refer to it as lunar apatite. Apatite.
3,
It
2,
is
1.
It's a blue mineral rock that's technically kind of obsidian. It's a type of obsidian that's turned into a blue color. So it's blue obsidian, technically. What it is, it's an igneous rock. It's blue obsidian that is made blue via a strong chemical reaction that occurred when it was formed from a mix of calcium and phosphorus. How that happens, I don't know. I'm just saying it looks pretty, okay? I know, I'm dumb. I'm just like, ooh, I like clouds, and this rock looks pretty. And oh, this girl has really awesome big boobs, and I love jiggle physics. Eh. I'm just saying, while I would definitely date a woman who is 4 foot tall, I think I would prefer a taller woman. Now, granted, in general, I think in terms of ease when it comes to, well, dating and sex and everything, just coexisting in terms of walking next to someone and holding their hand, it would certainly be easier to have somebody of equal height to yourself. That's just convenience. But I would say this. Whether a woman was fucking... I thought I made that. Whether a woman was 4 foot tall or 9 foot tall,
3,
I'd be happy
2,
with either of those heights.
1.
But in general, I would say, someone basically my height, give or take 1 or 2 inches, would be ideal. But I would definitely date a 4 foot tall woman, and I would definitely date a 9 foot tall woman. Except for the fact that physics tells me that's impossible. Grantedly, regardless of the height the woman would be, I'd have to actually meet somebody who actually found me attractive. And actually liked me. Who I also thought was cute and didn't think was, psychotic or going to try to kill me. Like I say, I've had some bad experiences, so I got a little bit worried that people would try to hurt me. That and just in general, I'm not really... Well, let's say, it's not so much insecurity so much as I know I'm inadequate. I'm not rich or athletic, and I'm a failure at everything in life. So, I understand I really don't have anything to me that would be considered really of value to, other people. So it's like, I'm inadequate, unwanted, and unlovable. It's like, whatever. And we're on fire. But the main point being, aside from... Again, it's like saying, let's pretend the artistic rendition of the black hole, is how you would actually see a black hole. Same way in this hypothetical scenario, let's pretend women actually find me attractive and people would actually love me and want me. And actually, care about me and not be psychotic or violent. But in the hypothetical situation that,
3, 2, 1, launch.
That I am attractive and am... in the hypothetical, hard-to-believe scenario that I am, attractive and desirable. Physics is what says that I can't have a 9-foot-tall girlfriend. Though I'd be lying if I didn't say I wouldn't like the 9-foot-tall futa girlfriend with big titties. And again, I like all boob sizes. Technically, I would still date a woman who is flat-chested. But again, I'm not going to lie and say I don't have a preference for big boobs. I'm just saying it's never been something that was a necessity. I mean, personality matters more than that. But I'm not going to lie and say that if a woman has a low-cut shirt, I'm not going to immediately notice the cleavage. I'm not going to pretend that that's not the case. I like boobs. A lot. Main point is a square cube wall says that can't happen. Because it says the fucking hell. Is there a different map I can go to? Or is... How do I... switch? You can punch through solar panels. Learn. Repair... retro rockets. Pod movement, pause. So there is no slowdown. Gotcha. Cards. Well, that's cool. Secret achievement. Reach a speed of 35. I haven't? What changes my speed? Also, what would you guys say are the best sized boobs? Now, that being said, like I said, I would definitely still motorboat A cups. Crash through 40 solar panels? Okay, that's just going to take time. Cards are cool. Pods? Ooh, Astro X. But I need to be able to see what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, the designs are cool, but I need to actually be able to see. But the main point being, ow.
3, 2, 1, launch.
But The main point being is that the taller you make something, like if you square the... If you square the length, the measurements of something, you wind up cubing the volume and density and weight and shit.
Lawn.
So the idea is that you... Like, if you build a skyscraper, if you square the height of how tall you build... Oh, there I am. How tall you make something, you then have to cube the structural requirements to make this, thing functional and not collapse. And eventually it becomes unreasonable to where there's no amount of material you can use to support the weight required. For example, you can't build a skyscraper out of wood. But then it makes me wonder, how big of a skyscraper could you make out of every building material? So I mean out of wood, out of plastic, out of styrofoam, out of mushrooms? Because I know there's a way to make like pseudo bricks out of the mycelium and mushrooms.
3, 2.
The question is how big, how sturdy would that actually be? What if you built a building out of just damaged cars? Though I guess at that point it's not. You also need materials that are more dense. Okay, what if you build a skyscraper out of lead? Aluminum? Tungsten? Copper? Bronze? Of course, a lot of them are steel. What if you could actually make a skyscraper out of diamonds? What about coal? Obviously diamonds would be stronger than coal, but I'm just saying, if you built like a building with the same proportions in terms of length and width as, say, the Empire State Building,
3,
how many
2,
floors
1,
tall could
lawn.
you build if you used your primary building material as, say, wood? Or, heck, even living trees, not even just wood for... And also there's different types of woods, different types of trees. And of course you can do different things, designs of architecture. Heck, while I'm not Catholic, I am Christian and I'm not Catholic though, I do find a lot of the old Catholic churches, especially even though I've never been to Europe, the pictures I've seen in Notre Dame. And there was a time I was in Washington, D.C., I think like 24 or something years ago, that the churches were extremely beautiful. Oh, fuck! I did that as badly as possible. I'm just saying, whether it's nature or just a really cool building.
3, 2, 1. Lawn.
Then again, I also like stuffed animals and plushies. So... Are you just purposely breaking through solar panels? I mean, there's an achievement for it, so...
3, 2, 1. Lawn.
What about the secret achievement? It's probably to survive for some massive amount of time.
Three, 2,
In endless
1.
mode.
Lawn.
I don't know. We'll figure that out a bit, but... The main point being is, if you were to build a skyscraper with the same length and width as the Empire State Building, how tall would you be able to build it? If, say, you built, instead of steel as the primary building component, what if you used uranium? What if you built with plutonium? Or diamonds? What about glass? What about solidified hydrogen? And everyone's like, what temperature would the fucking planet have to be for that to work? I don't know.
3, 2.
At this point, it's like the
1.
question is this.
Lawn.
What would happen if you just like superheated plutonium? Or here's a question. What if you made plutonium exist at absolute zero? What would happen? And assuming nothing happened, would just allowing plutonium to come back from absolute zero back to, say, room temperature be enough to cause some sort of drastic, cataclysmic chain reaction? Oh, come on! I thought I made that. Let's look up what this achievement is. Nope, that's the wrong button. An hour and a half? Holy shit. Apparently there's 3 achievements. There's reach to speed. Oh, right, the fast thing. 9.6% of players have got that. Breakable, crash through 40 solar panels. 19.2. Traveled 100,000 meters. Okay. So, speed. So how do we get that speed, though? Huh. Go to a different place. Wait. Are some of the pods at a different... Well, I mean, I think they're just cosmetic changes. I don't think it affects stats. I don't think you can travel faster, and even then it was... I think it's just go long enough without taking damage. Okay.
3, 2,
Oh, there's little descriptions.
1, launch.
Too bad it goes by too fast for me to read. It does seem like I go faster in the later levels. 21. Okay. Is there... Maybe I can read the description before I go to one. I'll return to talking about boobs in a second. Though I do like jiggle physics. I don't know. It's like, what field of science do you want to do? The field of science where I study boobs and how to make them jiggle. Then again, I imagine like the thing where I was saying, like, if I ever used a VTuber model on like Twitch or shit, would I get banned? Would Twitch be upset at me if my cock had jiggle physics? I don't know. Okay. A habitable super Earth-sized planet. Is it habitable then? Wouldn't the gravity just kill us? Frozen world, rings of ice, volcanic lava planet close to its host star. A giant gas planet with an Earth-like ringed moon. Neat. Are those lights on it supposed to be people living there? Betelgeuse, massive unstable red giants, which I'm pretty sure has already actually exploded. A desert wasteland with thin atmosphere. Solar system in orbit of a black hole. I mean, I understand technically there's massive black holes at the center of most galaxies. Which at that point, here's the question. What are the effects on solar systems that are the most innermost solar systems of the Milky Way galaxy? Like, is there some sort of radiation or stuff that we're not aware of that would be getting created by? Also, what's this over here? Like all these little symbols. I don't know what they mean. I assume we move fastest here. Damn it, I think I hit the wrong button. Okay, play. Endless.
3, 2, 1.
You know, I would like to read whatever that little flavor text is there. Like it said Gray's 10 something. 20? Well, this is bad. Fuck. Anyway, the idea is this. The bigger you make something, the
3, 2,
harder it
1.
makes, like, you square cube law. Base, it's also why, like, you know, small insects don't take fall damage, but an elephant, like, here's the thing, if you dropped an insect off of a house, it'd be fine. Like, for example, if you were, like, on a one-story building, and you, like, pushed an insect off the roof, the insect would probably land on the ground with no damage
3,
to its body.
2,
But
1.
if, say, you had an elephant on top of a one-story building, which, again, what is that fucking building made out of to support the weight of an elephant? But let's say, hypothetically, you had an elephant on top of a one-story building, and then you pushed the elephant off the building. The elephant would probably break its leg. I don't know if that's a good example. But you guys get what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying this. I would totally like a 9-foot-tall, big-tittied girlfriend. You know, at that point, band size would probably be triple digits. So, I don't know. a 130. Let's say it's a.
3, 2.
Hypothetically,
1.
if there's a 9-foot tall woman, she'd probably have like a 150 quadruple H cup size. So like a 150 band length and a quadruple H tit size.
Three, two.
Also potentially
1.
futa.
Launch.
But honestly, either is fine. That being said, the point being is that you can't have a 9-foot tall person. Usually anytime there's been a really tall person like Andre the Giant, it's usually been a brain issue that occurred that, killed them. Because, basically parts of him kept growing still on the inside, and his brain eventually grew too big for his skull, and, it crushed his brain to death, and it killed him. I mean, technically, as somebody who has also at one point been hospitalized for swelling of the fucking brain, that shit hurts. It is very uncomfortable. Then again, there's a lot of history of stroke, heart attack in my family, so I'm hoping that doesn't eventually happen to me. How do you get to 35? Is the fire making me faster in any way? It's just we gotta live long enough. I mean, we did say we'd probably get that achievement for a length of staying alive in endless mode. Judging by the speed we were accelerating at, I would say that
3,
even though we were at 1500,
1.
we probably have to make minimum of 3,000. Probably 4,000 miles. I was like, what's that I in? It's miles inside parentheses.
3, 2, 1. Launch.
I'm just saying this. Anytime there are people that are really tall, like if you're a really tall person or a really heavy person, it puts more pressure on your heart and your internal organs, and usually tends to, well, organs like to not be pressured too much. It's kind of hypothetically adrenaline. Your body has to be pumping adrenaline at all times, albeit in a very small dosage. But the main point is this. Your body is supposed to be pumping a very small dose of adrenaline at all times. However, the people that have, those adrenaline surges where they become abnormally strong, that's when the amount of adrenaline is, being really pumped in your bloodstream. But hypothetically, well, not so hypothetically, but actually, your body is always producing and pumping adrenaline. Technically, it is possible to have adrenaline fatigue. Basically, if you're overly stressed and have too high of a cortisol level, it can start causing
3,
damage to your liver and
2,
kidneys,
1.
and your body can
Launch.
start basically having trouble. 1, long-term exposure to adrenaline can cause problems. 2, of course, while adrenaline can allow you to get a massive boost of strength and speed and energy, it can also make you use more physical strength than what your body can handle, to where you can actually be so strong that you start breaking your own bones just from using physical strength. Heck, there was at one point where they were doing scientific experimentation where they were building these sort of mech suit things
3,
that,
2,
and here's the thing,
1.
technically they worked.
Launch.
The mech suits technically worked. They enabled a human being to have superhuman physical strength. The problem is, it exerted too much pressures on the person's bones. And so while the person could, successfully have superhuman levels of strength, and again, we're not talking fucking Superman.
3,
We're being realistic
2,
here, guys.
1.
We're basically talking stuff that would let an average person lift maybe double what a Mr. Olympia would. You're still not going to have a fucking Incredible Hulk situation. And you're not, massively increasing someone's muscles. You're just
3,
having some machines
2,
that
1.
act as an assistance. And granted, this is also... It's useful when used in small amounts. It can help people, a little bit of weight assistance to make their jobs easier. I mean, we've been doing that forever, like stuff with dollies and stuff. Fulcrums and leverages, weights and pulleys. Hiccup. Oh no. But the point being is this.
3, 2, 1. Launch.
Hypothetically, you can make a human being stronger that way, but it tends to break their bones. So, it's honestly a failure. Because what's the point of making someone stronger if it's only going to break them down? You gotta think long-term survivability.
3, 2, 1, launch. Three, two, one, launch.
But yep, that's it. I was trying to move as minimally as possible, hoping it would make me go faster.
3.
I forget what I was
2,
talking about,
1.
but the main
launch.
point is this. You can't, like, here's the thing, if people are really tall, it puts more pressure on their organs. You do need to have adrenaline going, like, technically your body is supposed to be producing a small amount of adrenaline in your bloodstream at all times. And of course, in times of emotional or physical duress, pumps a massive amount more. But, one, if you're ever, like, not pumping any adrenaline, like, ever, then it's going to make you extremely tired and lethargic. In the same regard, you know, if your body like pumps a constant amount of adrenaline all the time at high dose, eventually it can, you know, cause damage to your organs. I really wanted to get that health up.
3, 2, 1, launch.
But aside from that stuff, the main point being is this. A person's taller, it tends to put more pressure on their heart, their organs. Whether it's you're taller or heavier, it's more pressure on your organs. Your blood has to, you have to pump blood for all that, plus you have to, here's the thing, one, your heart has to pump blood for that body, and the bigger the body is, you might have to make your heart get bigger in order to deal with that pressure. That's why usually the people that are like the big, huge bodybuilder dudes, when they die, not only do they die sooner and earlier in life, on average, but their hearts are bigger than normal because their hearts need to pump more blood to a bigger body, and more often due to the intensity of the exercises required in order to make the people that strong. And in general, again, square cube law on that. It's not just an issue of height of the person, because here's one, you have the square cube law in terms of bones. One, the person is bigger, so now the bones have to be thicker and stronger to deal with the weight of the person's body. But then you also have to deal with, well, the bigger body means more pressure around the lungs. So now it's more oxygen that the lungs need to move out, and more more weight that's around the lungs that makes it harder to expand. Because that's the thing, technically in crucifixion, you die from suffocation. Because the angle that you're held there puts too much pressure on your, your ribs and your chest and your abdomen, your diaphragm. So you technically, it becomes too difficult to breathe. So you die of suffocation, albeit very slowly. Technically, you can push off of your legs to try to relieve some pressure to get some air into you. But one, eventually you become too exhausted to do that. And two, if you start annoying people enough, they just take a sledgehammer and break your legs. So you can't do that anymore. They just take, sledge your fucking shins. So, though I'm still an advocate that, that sort of fucking shit is horrible and wrong, and there's no justification for doing something like that to somebody. But the main point is saying just this. Ow! I'm just saying, I would totally date a 9-foot tall woman with really big titties. That being said... Oh, fuck. There's no way I could do that! Was I 28? 26.
3.
Wow,
2,
that 35
1,
speed is going to be very unreasonable to get to. I'm just saying this. If a person was 9 feet tall, they would wind up causing horrible damage, even if they were the skinniest person in the world.
3, 2.
Their body wouldn't be able to handle... Because here's the thing. One, you have to have bones strong enough to handle that weight. Two, you're also putting not only more total weight in terms of pressure on your joints, ligaments, and tendons, but also the increased height creates an increased leverage, which works against you. So now you're spreading out the weight, of course, across more weakened points, which means the likelihood of causing a bone fracture or tearing a joint, ligament, tendon, or just cartilage inside your body, or even a muscle, is drastically increased. Also, the amount of nutrients you need to maintain such a body, to the point that eventually you might not be able to eat enough to not be skinny.
3, 2, 1, launch.
I mean, it could wind up causing a much drastically increased metabolism, which of course puts more travel on your organs. Your heart has to be bigger and pump more, and of course, again, square cube law. Not only do you have to worry about the intensity on your bones, but here's the thing, if your heart's bigger, well, what's your heart made out of? Like soft, fleshy shit, right? Well, your heart has to have structural integrity, or else you're going to start, like, you know, rupturing a hole in the side of your heart and leaking blood all throughout your own diaphragm. So if you make your heart bigger to be strong enough to pump all the blood necessary for your giant 9-foot tall body, well,
3,
hypothetically
2,
in that situation,
1,
your heart would be bigger, but the muscles and connective tissues creating your heart wouldn't necessarily be any stronger, which means
3,
no matter
2,
what, even if you led
1,
an easier, more gentle life and didn't physically exert yourself too much, took care of yourself, you'd probably have a shorter lifespan. Then there's the fact that, you know, the more you would like physically exert yourself, certain pulse levels would be more dangerous. For example, you can be a very young person or a very short person or an extremely skinny person and have a much higher heart rate and have it not be super dangerous. But the taller you are, the higher a heart rate you have, the more dangerous it is to potentially causing a heart attack. So, not only are you increasing the load on the heart, but you're also making a bigger heart that has more structural integrity issues. Plus, again, the issue with the lungs, having to pump all that air. I don't know if the size of the lungs would increase or not. But the main thing is that cardio would not only be much more dangerous, but honestly, trying to do cardio as a 9-foot tall person would actually probably potentially be deadly. Heck, if you got too... Because here's the thing, technically dying of a heart attack or dying of fright can happen depending on if you're suddenly made so emotional that your heart is pumping faster than you can physically handle and maintain proper integrity or rhythm. Now, if you're a really tall person or a very heavy person, this would make it... your heart would have to get bigger in order to accommodate, and this would make it easier for a heart rate that would be safer for other people to potentially kill you. Then again, I'm a person who's been having chest pains walking down a fucking bike trail.
3, 2, 1,
And then there's always the thing as you get older, like, not only is the health of your bones, osteoporosis, muscles, hormones getting changed, but there's also the fact that over time, I mean, your heart is beating at all times, unless you're dead. Entropy does take effect. While usually it's meant to describe, machines, the main point is this. If your heart is described as a machine, that's a pump for the blood you need throughout your body. Well, the more you use that pump, I mean, obviously you take care of it, you need to do some healthy cardio. But if you push it too hard, it's kind of like if you lift too much weight, you can tear a muscle. But you do need to at least train it to make it stronger. Same thing with the heart. You can train your heart to make it stronger, but if you push it way too hard, way too fast, you could cause potentially irreparable damage. Now the question is, well, what's the limit? And the answer is, I have no idea. Your best option is just to fuck. I don't even know what's happening. Oh, right, that slowed down. I'm trying to go for speed. I was just focused on not dying. Son of a bitch! I just like padding. I took the little... Fuck.
3, 2, 1, launch.
Then there's the fact that the nutrients you need in order to maintain such a body, you'd have to add more nutrients, but of course you'd still have the same size kidney and livers and stomach and all that shit. And here's the thing.
3, 2, 1.
Even though you're bigger, your body still your liver has to filter out toxins and poisons associated with just normal food, let alone eating junk food. If you're a bigger person or taller person, well, you're eating more food and that's more stuff to filter. So it'd also be more likely that your liver and kidneys and stomach and your intestines would basically wind up getting fried. Now, the specifics, I'm just saying this. Aside from the fact that people never actually become 9 foot fucking tall, let alone the fact that there would be horrific health complications, to where, honestly, if somebody ever was 9 feet tall, they'd probably die by the time they're 24, and they'd probably be wheelchair-bound by the time they were 14. But, assuming that they also have the superhuman, because that's the thing, like Wonder Woman. Like, obviously, in the comics, her tits look incredible. But, not realistic. One, because there aren't very many people that actually grow that big. But, of course, it looks really cool. And attractive. The same way, I know nobody's going to be, as physically ripped as the fucking Incredible Hulk. Or, hell, fucking Yujiro Hanma. Even though there is a dude on Instagram who was, really fucking close to that. That, honestly, the amount of dedication that man's had to do... I mean, the man has to be, genetically gifted. But two, no matter how genetically gifted you are, the man has to have, such an incredible amount of discipline and hard work and dedication for such a long period of time in order to be able to accomplish something like that. So, good for you, man. That's incredible.
3,
but
2, 1, launch.
I'm just saying, if you were to have, Wonder Woman-sized titties, you would have to have some amount of, super strength. And not just in general strength, but also, muscles and bones that would be more capable. Because at the end of the day, I have back pain, and I don't have... I'm a dude.
3,
so I'm just saying, if you have, really big boobies...
launch.
I know there's women who have really big boobies, and it causes them back pain. Which, that sucks, because back pain sucks. I don't want anyone to be in pain. But I'm just saying, hypothetically... if there was a 9 foot tall woman with big titties who did not have, physics,
3,
killing
2,
her and ripping her body to
1,
shreds because of
launch.
the fucking square cube law and, the laws about biology and, how human bones and organs and hearts and kidneys and shit work. Aside from, the laws of physics and biology making a 9 foot tall person impossible. Assuming there was a 9 foot tall, big titty waifu who actually liked me, which honestly that's the least believable part about all of this. I can have suspension of disbelief about, breaking the laws of physics and biology. But believing somebody actually likes me, well, that's the most unbelievable part of all. But I'm just saying, in the hypothetical situation that there's a 9 foot tall, big titty waifu who likes me,
3,
and
2,
suffers
1,
zero
launch.
ill effects from being a 9 foot tall human being. And the square cube law is not, causing their bones to rupture through their flesh in horrific pain. I'm just saying, having some suspension of disbelief on all of the things that are, in complete defiance of reality, I would totally date a 9 foot tall woman. I'm just saying. And whether it's a woman or a futanari, I'm just saying, if it's a 9 foot tall woman with a cock and balls, yes, still would, as long as,
3, 2,
certain things,
1,
still
launch.
fit and wouldn't, hurt. Just saying. I would totally date a 9 foot tall woman. I'd totally date a 4 foot tall woman. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't really give a shit about the height. I'd be walking next to a 9 foot tall woman, and I wouldn't, think of her as a 9 foot tall woman. I would just think of her as, hey, this is my cute, adorable girlfriend. Even though she's fucking almost twice my fucking height.
3,
In the same regard,
two,
if I had a 4 foot tall girlfriend walk with her, I wouldn't think of her as short. I would just think of her as, hey, this is my girlfriend. That's it. Don't get me wrong, I do have preference for big boobs. But it doesn't mean that I don't like a woman if she doesn't have big boobs. I mean, I care more about personality, but at the end of the day, I mean, when it comes to being interested in people, you're going to care a lot about physical attractiveness. That's usually the initial thing that creates an interest. After all, we're talking about relationships that would be romantic and not platonic. After all, if I was with somebody, I mean, I would want them to find me attractive. I mean, I would certainly feel really bad if I was with somebody who was in a relationship with me who didn't find me attractive. Because then it's like, well, why are you with me then? Like, what can I say? I like the idea of feeling wanted. I don't know. Being deemed like, hey, Lunar's cute. Sort of thing. I'm just saying this. I do have certain standards on things. Regardless of my own low self-esteem and thoughts.
3, 2, 1.
I do have standards. That being said, I certainly would want whoever was with me to have standards as well. I wouldn't want them to be with just whoever they wanted to be with, like whoever just was available.
3, 2, 1.
And they were just with me to be with somebody. If I was with somebody, I'd want them to be with me because they wanted to be with me. Because they liked me. Though, of course, again, that's probably the most unrealistic fucking thing in the world, too. So, yeah. But I'm just saying this. If I was in a relationship with somebody, I would want them to find me attractive. I would not want them to think I'm ugly. I would want them to basically be drooling over me, thinking about, the fun that they were desperately wanting to have with me. Now, granted, I want to feel mutually that same way about them. Okay, gotta focus. Fucking! I'm just saying this. If I was with somebody, I would want them to find me
2,
attractive.
1. Launch.
I would want them to actually be my friend as well. I'm the kind of person, like, if I'm going to be dating somebody, I want to actually, enjoy their company and get along with them and be friends with them. I want them to actually like me as a person. I want them to actually respect me as a person. I want them to actually just enjoy my company. And yes, I want them to find me very attractive and to basically drool at the thought of having, lots of sex and cuddles. I want them to feel that way about me. I want to be desired. And of course, I want someone that I find cute. But then again, it's not like there's a shortage of women that I do find attractive in the world. I mean, I would say there's fucking hell! I tried to go to the left and I couldn't make it in time.
3, 2.
I'd say there's at least been 1 million plus women that I've seen IRL in real life that I was like, that person's cute. Heck, I can go to a Walmart and be like, that girl's cute, that girl's cute, that girl's not, that girl's cute, that girl's not, that girl is cute, that girl's cute, that girl's not. Then again, I'm also bisexual. Oh god. Female fox. Lean. Well, this isn't good. Fuck. Oh, yay. Why do I want that to be like, Rapidash or something? Not Rapidash, that's Pokemon. Magic Dash? Magic Ta? Rainbow Dash! Or like Pinkie Pie.
Three, two, 1.
Okay, all that's left is the speed thing and the, But at the same time, I'm also a bit, well, I'd say closeted on that, as well as just at that point, I'm kind of at the age where I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm just too old for relationships anyway. Then again, lately I've been asking women out. Like earlier today, I went and got a Steam card, and there's a girl at a GameStop. I mentioned the community post.
3, 2.
I mean, I at least made an attempt to ask her out. Of course, it did not work, but hey. So it's kind of odd. I've been doing that more spontaneously lately, like just sort of happening. And I'm like, why is that occurring? I mean, it's good, even though it's always still resulting in rejections, but still. Fuck! It's just... And here's the thing, we're still not moving anywhere near the speed they want us to go
3,
at, but there's
2,
no way for me to make
1.
that. Like,
Launch.
I think it's either... I wonder if it's an issue of luck or if it's possible to actually, you know... Did not quite make that. I actually held off a little bit on it because I was worried about
3,
overshooting it.
2, 1. Launch.
Fuck! I thought I threaded that needle. Did not quite do that. Let me check something. I'm supposed to try to get 100,000 meters, right? What's my total distance? Oh, it says 100,000 right there. Unless they mean at one time or in one stage. I don't know. Well, if that's the case, what's the one I did the most distance in a single stage? The last one? Okay. Is that a Deep Rock Galactic reference? Actually, when was this game released? Can I even see that when it's flying? Why is green xenomorph?
Three, two, one. Launch.
Okay, so it said hit 10 things, get the watch the pain achievement. Well, actually, didn't I already get that?
3, 2, 1. Launch.
God damn it! Why would you
3,
arrange things
2,
like this? I understand at the point it's for the sake of this challenge, like for the game, but realistically, in real life, you would never do this. God fucking damn it.
3,
Okay, last try.
2, 1. Launch.
God, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
3, 2, 1. Launch.
Yeah! God, fuck! I should have went down. I should have went to the bottom right. Fuck. Okay, well, that's the end of the video. Hope everyone had a good day. Bye.